It's a show that hopes you had a delicious Halloween. I sure did with my jelly fruit slices that I brought in for the team, and everyone loved them. Most people love them.
An all-time bad candy.
Gianna, what was the ratio?
An
How many people
all-time
liked
bad
them?
candy.
What
Let's
percentage?
just start the show. It's a Friday show. The Jets played last night.
I like them.
We start with the Jets win. While many expected the Jets to drop the ball, and they literally did, Aaron Rodgers picked it up in the second half with touchdowns to Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams to post a 21-13 victory over the Texans. Okay, tale of two halves. First half, 32 yards, and he looked as washed could be.
And it was, there were so many, the worst this of his career in the first half. The third worst this. It was one of the worst halves
He
to
missed
start a game of his
Devontae
career.
Adams wide open on his first throw.
But as far as yards and rating and all the yards per attempt, all of it.
Second
and then
half?
great. He was great.
Came alive.
Yep.
Buying that the Jets could surge in the second half of the season, bro.
Well, look, it was obviously a great win. I hinted at it yesterday. I didn't go full bore. They're going to win, but I thought it was possible, and obviously they got it done. Good win, but I'm not going to go overboard because despite the W, it was a lot to be disturbed by.
Thank you.
I mean, honestly, early on, and even at points in the second half, it was a clown show. Like Malachi Corley, and we just had a, what was that, Weird and Wonderful? Yep. I mean, what are you doing? This isn't even a kickoff return or a long interception return. Why are you dropping the ball? You shouldn't do it ever, but what in the world are you doing?
Can I give you the other side of that?
There's another side?
Yeah. It was a touchdown, though. You know what I'm saying? It came off.
No, it wasn't. It actually wasn't.
No, I think what Wildes is saying is, as far as the Jets' offense coming alive, I think that's what he's saying. Yeah.
But my point is, this season was on the line, and this is what I'm talking about.
And also, your second touch of your career for a kid who was, I think, third-round pick, who was disappointed that he wasn't getting more opportunities.
This was Tyreek Stevenson-ish. Seriously. Like, why are you celebrating?
Oddly often.
It's just
and was
ridiculous.
it DK this weekend? Who was it? Someone will tell me in my ear. That Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
He didn't drop it, but he was like celebrating early, got knocked out.
Yeah, why?
There's an odd case that Deshaun Jackson is a Hall of Famer based on just his impact on the game alone, because he invented this move. But go ahead, bro.
Well, look, then there was a roughing the punter.
Yeah.
On a 4th and 21 that gave Houston the ball. A roughing the snapper.
The roughing the snapper's a bad one. At least the roughing the punter, you're trying to block the kick. The roughing the snapper's just you don't know the rules.
Yeah.
Right. There's that. Then Greg Zuerlein, who, I mean, we got some bad kickers this year, but he's got to be the worst. Then when you do score and tie the game, he kicks the extra point off the goalpost. It did go in, but an extra point off the goalpost. My point is just that even Joe Mixon, there were times in the first half they couldn't tackle. They couldn't tackle him. So I just thought they looked bad at points. Houston obviously looked horrible, and I will give the Jets credit. The defense had 8 sacks against that bad offensive line. They really shut down C.J. Stroud for the second straight season. All right. And then Aaron Rodgers obviously was great. We'll get into the great catch by Garrett Wilson, which saved them. Look, I'm going to hold out hope because the thing that gives me hope, Nick, they played well in the second half, but their schedule. They got one team with the winning record left on it, and that's Buffalo. And so I'm going to hold out hope.
Everyone on their schedule but Jacksonville has fewer losses.
Right,
so
right.
You know what I mean?
They're one of these mediocre,
mediocre.
They've been bad right now. But last night, I'm going to hold out hope.
Clarification, Greg Zuerlein is not their kicker anymore because he's been so bad. It was their new kicker, Riley Patterson.
He looked like him.
He looked like
Greg just like Greg.
But it's the same type of situation. So since we have a 17-game season, there isn't like a game midpoint of the year now. But if there were, it would be halftime of your 9th game. And so at halftime at the exact midway point of the season, the Jets appeared to be one of the 4 worst teams in the entire NFL by any measure. By quarterback play, by coaching upheaval, by defensive numbers, by offensive numbers. They were just awful for truly, literally, exactly half the season. Now, they were really good on both sides of the ball in the second half, and I give them credit for that. There was some fortuitousness there as far as they went for a 4th down They didn't pick it up. It was a very shaky. Kirk Herbstreit was about as critical as he'll be about the calling the illegal contact. And then the touchdown did take one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. But the most reassuring thing for the Jets in this game, Quinnen Williams started looking like Quinnen Williams. Now, maybe that's more about the Texans' interior offensive line. But Aaron and Devontae clicked again for the first time since he's been on the team. But
Reddick was also a factor.
Oh, yeah, Reddick was a factor as well. That's a good point. But the thing is this. They're still a bad team. And I'm really glad you're not getting sucked back in the way I thought
I'm going to hold out hope, but yeah. I mean,
other people have been. Like, since Aaron Rodgers said, our next step is to go dominate, here have been the worst teams in football. The teams who have lost 5 games since Panthers, Saints,
Patriots
Jets.
Not on it. That's our first negative
Patriots
graphic.
not on it.
Beat the Jets.
Because they beat the Jets. Also, we talk all the time at the beginning of the year. Oh, teams that start 0-2, their record making the playoffs. Teams that start 0-3. Teams that have a 5-game losing streak at any point in the year, 2% make the playoffs. Like, it is not the teams that have the ability to lose 5 games in a row don't have the ability to then all of a sudden win 7 of 8, which is the type of thing the Jets are going to need to do. So if we can show their schedule real quick, because the point that I was trying to make was we look at the Cardinals as, the Cardinals are not that good. The Cardinals are 4-4. The Colts, they're not that good. They're 4-4. The Seahawks, they're not that good. They're 4-4. The Dolphins, they are 2-5 right now, but in a weird spot because Tua was out, and we'll see. The Jags are a legit bad team, and then the Rams 3-4, and the Bills a winning record. Like, I don't think the Jets or Jet fans or Jet media have any right to look at any game and be like, we should beat them. You lost to New England 5 days ago.
So twice, I guess Al Michaels during the game, he was talking to Herbstreit, that he sort of relayed what Aaron was telling him, and Aaron was selling him on, Seattle and the Rams have to come across. That's what he kind of hinted at. And he said, Aaron, he can sell you a few things. I was going to buy the Brooklyn Bridge after that conversation, but I settled for the Williamsburg. But after the game, he said, you know what? Wait a second, they can't run the table, and he makes you think they can. And I'm the mayor of fair. I am no fan of the Jets, but I am the mayor of fair. I haven't been the mayor of fair in a while.
You're also the mayor of the last thing I saw is the only thing I saw.
Recency bias? The mayor of recency bias? Yeah. Perhaps. To Brew's point, and Brew, tell me if you're buying this at all. It might be just a strong no, and we can move on. Some of the things that you outlined, literally dropping a touchdown before you walk in, roughing the punter, roughing the center, the pass to Davante Adams. I didn't pull it. The pass to Davante, where Davante's over here and the ball's back there, are so egregiously bad, they almost seem fixable. Versus when you see when you see other teams, like, you can't pinpoint where the Patriots right now, like, the players just aren't that good. There aren't egregious mistakes. But there's some of these mistakes are so huge, like, I just don't do that, and we score. Does that make sense?
If Corley doesn't drop that ball, maybe this is a big win. If he doesn't drop that ball, they win by a sizable amount. Where Nick and I disagree, and I'm shocked that you feel this way, Nick, they got talent.
It's not
like to say that they don't have talent.
I don't think they have more. I don't think they have top 10 in the NFL talent.
But they have more talent probably than most of the teams left on their schedule. I'll say that. At what position?
It depends on
what position group are they not? You know what I mean? Are they not good at? Like, talent-wise.
The offensive line, they're not good at. The quarterback room,
they got some guys
they're
that have
not
done
good
some
at.
things. The quarterbacking?
Yeah, the quarterback
room,
they're not
great
good
anymore.
At.
Last night he played well. Can he just be pretty good? Can he be pretty good?
I mean, he was awful.
I mean, he's got 15 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. By Aaron Rodgers' standards, those are bad. But that's actually pretty good.
But you don't think he's played pretty good?
No, I don't. No. But I think, and I said last week he's washed, and I don't mean he can't have quarters or halves like he did last night. But if he can, I don't expect him to be MVP for him ever. But if he can play well, solid, like he did last night.
I don't think he's good anymore. I think that we are 4 days removed from them losing to the Patriots. We are 11 days removed from them getting blown out by the Steelers. And while I agree the Corley thing is a one-off, those other things we're talking about when they are happening in I guess the last day of October, we're now in November, are the signs of an undisciplined, poorly coached team. To me, those aren't the throwaways. Those are we hearken back to it, but I do think it's instructive. One of the trademarks of the best coached, most put together team of the era, the Patriots dynasty when it was really rolling, was you go multiple seasons without that type of special teams penalty. Like, the best versions of teams never do it. The worst versions of teams always do it. And in a game where your season's on the line, to have 3 egregious mistakes, essential turnovers, like roughing the punter is a turnover. The roughing the snapper gives you a chance, the other team a chance to get 7
worked
points.
out for him.
It did work out, oddly. It saved them 3 points.
Right.
But I think that's who they are.
Highlight of the game, season, maybe NFL history. Probably
That's too far.
Start of the fourth quarter, 3rd and 19. Jets down 3. Rodgers to Garrett Wilson, who gets his shin down for the touchdown. Odes of OBJ. Okay, Brew, your reaction to catch of the year.
Well, this is why I've been saying he's a bad boy. Garrett Wilson is a bad boy. Like, Nick, 2 1,000-yard seasons with Zach Wilson. And now with Aaron Rodgers, as you said, playing poorly, washed, I called him. He's second in the league in yards, total yards. Now I get it, he's got 1 extra game, but he's top 10 in yards per game. Yards per game. So he's he produces. Whoever the quarterback is, he produces. And this is one of, I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me, one of the best catches in the history of the NFL. Like, that was incredible. Yeah. Now, everybody's comparing it to OBJ. I think you can argue, I think OBJ's catch was definitely more impressive from the shoulders up, because he had to reach back further at things going out of bounds, right? He's like, that's ridiculous. I think maybe from the waist down, you might give it to Garrett Wilson because he had to maneuver the feet and the legs to get in bounds. OBJ really didn't, because I think Garrett got up higher in the air, so he had to come down to get his stuff in. But I'm gonna, honestly, if you ask me if I have to pick one, I'm gonna give it to OBJ.
Me too.
But this was right there, close.
Two quick points, because I'm painted as the anti-Garrett Wilson guy. I'm not that. I'm just Mr. Consistency. Of course. And I think we are at the high watermark of NFL history of A- or better receivers. And so I know Brew calls it the gloves. I think
that's part of it.
I think that's a small part of it, but that's fine. My entire Garrett Wilson argument is boiled down to a very simple kind of set of names. Tyreek, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, in my opinion, are the 5 best receivers in football. And then there's 10 guys in that next group that Garrett is in. And so that means 5 of those guys are not top 10 players. So, like, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Nico Collins, Devontae, if he's really Devontae, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson. Those guys are all, we had Brandon Ayuk in there before he tore his ACL. Like, they're all in that bucket. Fair. And so it wasn't that I don't think he's good. It's that I think about almost half the teams in the league have someone like him because there's so many really good, legit #1 receivers. That's the point I was making.
The question, and again, all of a sudden I'm becoming a Jets fan, or a Jets optimist during this segment. Weeks 1 through 4, Garrett Wilson had 8.5 targets per game. 5 catches, sure, a little bit under 50 yards. Last few weeks, more targets, more receiving yards, more big catches, and 4 touchdowns.
And some of that's Devontae Adams.
Exactly.
Yep.
Christian Gonzalez was all over.
Well, it started the week before. Maybe he had the 22 target week
starting to pick it. I think everybody was worried about maybe Devontae would take too much, but maybe it's freeing him up, and now you got 2
And while your point that the same logic that says heel down, toe out of bounds should apply to shin down, knee out of bounds, logically speaking, you're 100% right. It's not how the rule's written, but I get what you're saying.
But I was happy
and that
for the
was
highlight
still
to
very.
exist.
It's hard. I don't know if the shin was that. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
also almost
how
like
can
a
you tell?
kinesiology thing.
Yeah,
like
it's like,
your
can
shin
your
has
shin
to
be
test
down?
before.
Yeah,
so that was weird, but I was glad it counted because it was dope.
Meanwhile, the Texans, immune to the motivational powers of the Bud list. And Brew, you called it before the game. Something was going on there. CJ throws for under 200 yards, gets sacked 8 times, straight up just drops the ball at one point. Okay, Brew, you were hinting at this yesterday. Weeks 1 through 6, 5-1, feeling good. Last 3 weeks, doesn't look like the real CJ Stroud. Nick, should Texans fans be concerned?
Well, I'm less concerned about him than I am about the team. I think Brew's point yesterday might have been more team-related. Listen, they've trailed for 55 fourth-quarter minutes this year. We pop their schedule up on the screen. You can go game by game. Except for one game, they have either lost or been in. Colts game came down to that. It was a 2-point game. They got to pick up that 3rd down. Bears game, Caleb has the ball down 6. The Jags game, the Jags fail on that 4th and 1. They score a touchdown with less than 20 seconds remaining. The Bills game, the Bills do that wacky, have Josh Allen throw from his own goal line. Remember, they kick a field goal with the gun. They roll the Patriots, and then the Colts game last week again comes down to the very end. And so here's my problem for the Texans, Brew. And we can also, Dust, if we can, show their ranks. They're just kind of average at everything. And CJ, I think, has been clutch, but their offense is average and their defense is average with some really. They went from the best pass touchdown defense in the league to the worst. Every AFC team, the question is, can you have a good enough regular season to where Kansas City has to come to you? That's now, in my opinion, dead for the Texans.
Yes.
Then the question is, okay, are you good enough to beat Kansas City in Kansas City? Not with that interior offensive line. Chris Jones have the greatest game of D tackles ever had in NFL history in a playoff game against those guys. And they lost their guard for the season yesterday. So that's, to me, the real concern, Brew, is if Kansas City's the standard, your single biggest weakness is the Chiefs' single biggest defensive strength, which is what Quentin Williams exploited last night.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, I think they'll make the playoffs. And Indianapolis is a decent team that's going to get better.
It's going to be better in the short term.
So they'll be something you have to deal with. They beat them twice by a total of 5 points.
Yeah, but the tiebreaker's huge because they now swept them.
So I don't think Texans fans should worry about them making the playoffs. But for those that thought we got a chance to get to the Super Bowl, you don't.
Wow.
You don't have a chance. No.
Wow.
You don't. They're not. This is a lot, and they could be on funk watch. I don't think they'll fall into a funk like Philadelphia did. But I said yesterday, remember last year when Philadelphia started 10-1, and every week, not only us and other commentators, but the Eagles themselves, they just not playing well. You just don't feel like you're playing well, and that's what the Texans look like.
What, Wilds?
Whoop. Antennas up. King of vibes. And I felt the same thing you saw. After the game, CJ Stroud said, we have to stop pointing fingers. We have to buy into the leadership. I was like, what was that? Stop pointing fingers. So it's just, it was a little hint of the vibe. And then you said, this side of the table, very,
sensitive to vibes.
Sensitive to vibes.
And also, Dust, if we can show my last graphic, the other thing on CJ is, there is a line of demarcation. Since he took on the second job as league mentor, he hasn't quite been the same guy. I'm just telling you.
You are the king of a line in the sand.
Well, that is the line. Pivot point.
I don't know if that's an official line,
I've got the league so figured out. I can mentor this guy who was born 3 months after me. Come on, little bro. Since then, I'm just saying, not quite the same player.
Well, look.
That's all I'm saying.
To your point, Nick, this is the second time in the last 3 weeks that he's had a horrible game.
Yes.
Against Green Bay a few weeks ago, 58 passer rating, 48% completion. Last night, 37% completion, and what is 59?
Against Green Bay, 86 yards.
Yeah. So
absolutely. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.